Hey, thanks for listening to The Create Unknown. To unlock the extended bonus conversation, sign up at patreon.com/thecreateunknown. Now, on with the show.
Like maybe there's some sort of like entrepreneur opportunity here to create, the next great invention that is the like electric chair protector for flying. Yeah. Hey, welcome to The Create Unknown. I am Kevin Lieber. With me, as always, is Matthew Tabor. Currently, he is in Las Vegas. Maybe someday he will actually be home again. But joining us today, we are so happy and excited to have with us the CrippDaddy himself, Donavan. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you guys for having me.
Now, I know of you from Twitter. And I'm happy that I do because you make me laugh just pretty much every day. The most recent thing that you shared was the that I replied to had to do with that shocking food. A New York Post, I think, reported that. Matt, I know that you come from the EDU sphere, so you'll know about this, but I don't want to upset any of our listeners, but it turns out that some kids in school are eating pizza.
Yeah. Take a moment to let that sink in, dude. All right. I know that's a lot.
And that was, so I've been off the grid on some of this stuff. What the actual issue is that like pizza is part of the school diet? Is that it?
If you want me to be honest, I think it was one of those, like, if you clicked in the article, there was like, more with like, oh, the shit they're putting in food, maybe. But they did that thing where the picture to the article just doesn't make sense to me. And I see that so often. And in order to convey the message of like, be careful what your children are eating, it's just a bunch of kids eating pizza. Like, that was it. And I was like, that doesn't fit the tone at all. Because, like, let me tell you, I've never once eaten pizza and have been like, it's always been a joyous, amazing experience. Even the shittiest pizza, I'm like, you know what? Hey, it's a good time.
The worst pizza, I got into like a little bit of a disagreement recently where someone was asking, pizza or tacos? And I very clearly said, you know what? Like, the worst pizza is still pretty good. The worst taco is really not very good, in my opinion.
Yeah. No, I agree with that wholeheartedly. Because, like you said, a bad pizza is still kind of good pizza, Like, I've never gone my way to eat Little Caesars, but if it's offered to me, I'm gonna eat it. I'm not mad about it.
Yeah, it doesn't take a whole lot to get a man hot and ready on a moment's notice.
Yeah. Matt, aren't you like a Pizza Hut buffet aficionado? You're like a regular.
Yeah, I like the buffet because it's like $6.99, all you can eat. Nobody is there, and so they pretty much ask you what pizzas you want to make. Salad bar is good, but there aren't very many places where you can go like all out for under $10. But you know what? There's one time I passed on this. Have either of you eaten CC's?
No.
I have.
What's your ruling on that?
It is what it is.
Okay. It's not a good endorsement.
It'll get you full. You will leave with an empty belly. But it's not gonna change your life. It's a good time. And like I said, pizza's pizza. But yeah, if you want to hang out and eat a shit ton of like, okay, pizza, that's what it is to me.
I walked by it when I lived in LA. I walked by a CC's all the time, and it was like $5 all you can eat pizza. And ideal, like most of the time, that kind of deal is going to draw me in like flies to sweet, sweet honey. And I just looked through the window and I was like, this looks terrible. This looks
Yeah.
awful. Like, I just don't
Yeah.
even want to do this for $5.
Yeah, I get that. Especially here, all the buffets where I live are just don't trust it. Like,
Yeah.
at all. It's so bad. I refuse to believe that there are good buffets, even though I'm sure there are. But I don't want to pay that much. No.
Oh, Las Vegas, where Matt, where you are, is like the buffet
Right.
heaven, isn't
Capital
it?
of the world, yeah. Yeah, it's got some really, really good ones, but a couple pretty bad ones too. But Kevin, you have a full-on buffet boycott, don't you?
It's not a boycott, but I'm like a nervous public eater
Same.
in general. And when it comes to like eating buffet style, or like a bunch of people are around who are all kind of using the same utensils to serve ourselves, or I don't know, man. Like
To eat with, the best buffets just have one fork that everybody passes around and eats with.
Yeah.
yeah, the communal fork. Yeah,
It's my fork. It's my turn with a fork. God.
yeah. You know, if you're in like a buffet, like at a wedding or like some sort of social gathering, like a whatever, it's usually a thing where you don't want to be the first person in line, because it's like considered somewhat I don't know, embarrassing. Like, oh, look at, I want to be the first person in line because I know that everybody's like germy poop hands haven't been all over like the serving spoons yet.
Yeah. And even like outside of buffets, but I agree. I specifically hate buffets. Just I'm sure this is everywhere, but even more recent, like at just local fast food places, or just it gets me so nervous. I had a friend who works at Taco Bell very recently. Her employee, this new guy, was in the bathroom, and essentially, everybody thought he was cleaning, and he was on the floor, Skyping with his girlfriend, just like laying up, like on his bed, like feet up, back and forth, like, "Oh, hey, babe," and just on the bathroom floor.
Ooh, God.
Taco
At a
Bell.
Taco Bell.
Taco Bell cyber sex.
And I don't think I can ever eat there, knowing that he's working.
Yeah, but as gross as he is, who is this girlfriend who's like into it? Who's like, yeah. My guy is, sneaking away into the Taco Bell bathroom to show me some love.
Yeah.
Like, that's even worse, I think.
That's my hometown in a nutshell.
Yeah. I want to we should have a documentary about your hometown. Sounds
You know what?
fascinating.
Strangely enough, there kind of is, actually. It was it's on Hulu, Mind the Gap.
Mind the Gap?
Oh.
Yeah. They that whole documentary is filmed here in my hometown.
Huh.
What is it about? I'm not familiar with it.
It was up for an Oscar, I think, for that documentary that year for best documentary. It's kind of essentially the story of 3 kids who grew up here, and the one was the guy who filmed the documentary. And at first, it kind of seems like it's going to be about like skateboarding and how they brought them together, but it kind of ends up more turning into a story of how abuse played out their lives, because they're all friends, but they all went in different directions. And abuse, whether it be from their parents or themselves or significant others, all played a giant factor on who they became.
Mm-hmm.
And it was really good. It's a good documentary.
Well, we know from so many of your Twitter videos that your mother abuses you very badly.
Oh, yeah, and I give it right back.
It's some of the most well-documented parent-child abuse on the planet.
Yeah, no, that's how I know, like, therapy is a great option. It probably should be done for everybody. But I say, nah, just whoever is abusing you, fuck them. Fuck them right back, dude.
You go straight back to Hammurabi's code. Just like an eye for an eye.
Yeah.
I'd love to get into the Twitter side of things, because most of the people that we interview are YouTubers first and foremost, and and last most. And you're really not. I know that you have a YouTube channel, but it's relatively recent. It looks like you started about 2 years ago, but you're really most active on Twitter. And Matt and I just recorded an episode about networking in which we both wholeheartedly agreed that Twitter was the best social media place for actually meeting people and becoming friends and networking and checking up on each other. And I mean, that's how we know you. So this is like a perfect example of that. So I just would love to hear about your thoughts on using Twitter and kind of how recently did you start Twitter? Was that within the last couple of years that you started being like active on there and making videos and stuff?
Well, I think I made my Twitter, my first one, a while back, and never touched it. I think it's very routine. I think everybody has that story of like, yeah, I made it, but then it just sat there for a while, didn't do. And then like one day I just decided, why not a little bit more? For me, the reason I started using it again was during the highlight, I think, of when the commentary videos were on the up and up, with like Leafy and all those guys, and seeing that they all use Twitter a lot. And I was like, I like these guys, they're funny. And it'd be cool to just like maybe be able to talk to them and shoot the shit. And that's kind of what brought me back there. And I started just talking to people, making jokes with them and having a conversation. And now I'm here because people were nice, they were cool.
It's funny. You know, one of the things that Matt and I talked about in that episode was just how Twitter can be such a volatile and outrageous and angry place. But the way that we use it, it's like almost the exact opposite. It's just nothing but jokes and satire and having fun with all of the things almost that people are mad about. So that's something that really drew me to you to begin with, because look, let's face it, right off the bat, when I see this person called the young Cripp, I'm like, okay, this guy I gotta follow, because clearly you have a seriously strong sense of humor.
That's my coping mechanism with everything. It's like you said, everybody is so angry. You can look anywhere, but especially Twitter. People are just mad. You can find anything to be mad about on Twitter. It's ridiculous. And I just like being able to laugh at that instead of getting angry. Like, there's a lot of serious stuff going on in the world. Nobody needs, like, that's just common sense. You know, I don't need to hear it from, like, a mob of people that the world is on fire. I can only do so much about it, and I try my best, and I think the only way to combat that chaotic, absurdity is to laugh at it.
It's crazy how people seem to default to like the angry little hot take. You get two sentences on Twitter, and it's nuts to me that it's like, oh, I've got two sentences. What should I do with this like precious limitation? Well, I should just freak out as much as possible in like 17 words.
Yeah.
Like, how do you decide to choose that route?
I don't know. To me, a lot of it is that people take themselves a little too serious. And I think that's a huge thing too. And I learned a long time ago to not take myself serious, because push comes to shove, you're gonna die one day. So like, just have a good time, smile and laugh.
I find that interesting because I watched I went to your YouTube channel and I sorted from oldest to newest, because I always love to see whenever we bring a guest on, like, what kind of videos was this person making when they first started? Yeah. And one of the first videos that you made was titled something along the lines of like, how I cope, or something like that. And it was a very honest and open kind of dialogue about you talking about your what is it called? I'm sorry. Spinal muscular atrophy?
Yeah, type 2.
Type 2. Okay,
Yeah.
so you talked about that, explained a little bit about what it was, but then kind of got into your whole mindset around doing what you can with every single day to make things better for yourself and for other people.
Yeah.
And that's something that resonated with me so strongly, and I think it comes across very clearly in your sense of humor and also with your ethos of, not taking yourself so seriously.
Yeah.
And it seemed like last year, so I'm wearing a t-shirt for those watching on YouTube that features Donavan and Ricky Berwick, and it says disabled and violent.
Yep.
We need to talk about the deep strain of violence that courses through your entire being. We need to talk about that honestly.
It's like I wake up every day in a ball of rage, and I make how Kevin punches a hole in the wall. I destroy walls. I'm a wrecking ball. I just fucking annihilate them.
But this t-shirt came about because of a mini controversy that you were embroiled in that I would love for you to tell our audience about, because I think it kind of exemplifies how you approach life, how Ricky approaches life in his own way, and sort of kind of like the conflict that exists between the way that other people approach their lives and express themselves, first and foremost on social media like Twitter.
Yeah. So, I guess first and foremost, it should be said that we, I think more so me, because I'm a bit more open to talking about certain subject matters than Ricky is. But, that whole notion of us versus them mentality really came into play with it. It was when Endgame was announced, and, it's like a 12-hour long movie. It's not. It's like 3 hours. But there was an article written by, I believe, a freelance journalist, whoever, who was disabled and a minority. And the whole article was explaining that the movie's length was, in fact, ableist. Because people with disabilities like myself, or even worse with bladder issues, wouldn't be able to sit down and enjoy the movie in its entirety. And me, to put it bluntly, thought that was very fucking stupid. I'll admit it right here, right now. I'm kind of an asshole sometimes. I get that. But I try to level and be chill and nice and be empathetic, but there's just some things where I'm like, that just doesn't, nope, I'm sorry. And I expressed that in a Twitter video. I can't remember verbatim what I said, but it was along the lines of, if we're born with an issue that this is going to play a factor into like enjoying a long movie, you plan accordingly. I mean, that's what I've done. That's my entire life. Is I I make sure I don't expect the world to accommodate to me. Would it be nice? Yeah, it'd be great, but that's not how the world works. But at some point, you need to make yourself work with the world. I don't know. And Ricky chimed in on it, got in, said his piece, pretty much agreed with me because we both are of that mindset. And instead of having an open dialogue, we were met with, we're both racist white men and ableist, which is weird because I'm not even white.
Right. Yeah, that's one of the funniest parts about seeing the criticism thrown your way is like 80% of it is wrong on the surface. Like you can't even justify.
God, so bad. It's really crazy because they're coming from a nature of like, don't judge people on their skin, and it's the first thing they bring up because the argument had nothing to do with our race, but they were the first one to bring it up.
So I forgot this too, and maybe it wasn't, these details weren't part of her argument, but was there a specific point? Was she arguing that there should be intermissions, or that like a movie over a certain length is inherently going to be a problem?
I think it was inherently going to be a problem. Yeah.
So what's the cutoff? Like, what is the cutoff for a bladder-friendly runtime?
That exactly. Like, and that was my point too. The article was just negative. It didn't offer any solutions. It wasn't like maybe we can do this, maybe we should do that. It was just flat out like, these movies of this length are all a problem and an issue. And I was like, but what are you trying to accomplish? What do you want done? Like, you're just bitching for the sake of bitching.
Yeah, I don't think an intermission would be that big of a deal. I think people whether you were disabled or not probably wouldn't mind stretching their legs and going to the bathroom. I think that saying that just a long movie is a problem, you can't go anywhere with that, because they're as soon as you say, okay, well then movies are only allowed to be 2.5 hours, somebody's going to come out of the woodwork and say, well, that's too long for me.
Yeah.
And then you say, okay, well, then they can only be 2 hours. And then somebody says, well, that's way too long for, you know what I mean? Like, it's just,
exactly,
it'll just fractionate forever until there are no movies left.
Yeah, that's what I mean, until you're just at home.
So what you explained details how you are disabled and an asshole. But what makes you disabled and violent? We need to get to the core of your violent streak.
So that's when it just became completely downhill, because I think in that moment, you had two options. Either have a conversation and be open, or you just double down and you find anything to complain about the person arguing with you. And we were called violent because of our responses, which didn't make sense. I never condone anybody attacking, anybody going after anybody, but you don't have control over what other people do. And so we're seen and labeled as these like evil masterminds, and that everybody is our minion that we just throw out to other people to go after. And it's dude, I can't even eat macaroni and cheese without spilling on my shirt. Like I'm not that. So it's not that deep.
Yeah, that was a part of the charge too, wasn't it? Because this happened over multiple days, and for people who didn't follow this along, it was like a 4 or 5 day saga. Insane,
yeah.
And then there was like the trail of tears after it that lasted like 3 weeks. But the meat of it was still like a week long. So the one of the main criticisms on this you just mentioned was that they were saying that you were like sicking thousands of people on this girl who just had the temerity to write an article about how she wanted to pee during a movie.
Yeah.
And so that's not accurate. You're saying that there aren't 15 or 25,000 people like in a tight text messaging system who get a beep on their phone. It's like, oh, Donavan says it's go time.
Yeah, no, it's not that deep. I'm not saying it didn't happen, because I'm not her. I don't know what's going on in her world. But even let's just say hypothetically, it was like a good handful of people, like 15, 20 people just like DMing her, tweeting at her. Let's just say that was a thing. You can block them.
Yeah,
it's so simple to just end the conversation, not respond. It's not that, like, I don't get that mentality of, like, they won't stop tweeting at me, then just ignore them.
And I wonder at what point because look, we all make things that we share online that is open to criticism for everyone around the world to criticize. And on Vsauce too, I get plenty of criticism on the way I explain things, whether it's explained poorly or not. Sometimes they criticize me because they just think I'm wrong. The math is wrong, or I say them wrong. Or that it's a stupid topic to begin with. Like I'd say the number one criticism is like, why did you waste your time on this video, idiot?
God, I hate that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, or say like, yes, exactly. You just waste, you stretched like a 1 minute idea into like a 12-minute video for your AdSense or whatever, and it's like, actually, this topic could be like a 2-hour seminar. It's like that detailed. Like 12 minutes is like a truncated version. But anyway, the point is, I don't really understand why you would not recognize that by putting out an opinion, especially an opinion piece.
Oh yeah.
That you would not, get some sort of feedback, likely much of which will be negative, because let's face it, the majority of feedback that you get is going to be negative, because people just really don't like to go out of their way to praise you, but they love to go out of their way to criticize you.
Oh yeah. Oh God, yeah. It's been, like you said, especially with that, I think I don't really like going out of my way all the time. I know I've fallen victim to it. I think everybody has, with stating an opinion about a very controversial subject matter, but when it comes to people with disabilities seemingly and unnecessarily playing the victim, that's when I'm like, God, man, why? And it makes it worse when they make it seem like everybody in that, is that, because it's not. And I really hate that.
Just to play a little bit of devil's advocate, are there situations that come to mind for you in which somebody was complaining about maybe discrimination or like some element of society that's really like very, very inconvenient for disabled people that you've supported and kind of rallied behind and
yeah.
Okay, so like what would be an example of a situation like that?
A lot of people I don't know if they know this or if it's just not a huge problem, so nobody really cares. But flying, well, if you have an electric wheelchair, is the word. It's a nightmare. It's so risky. Because there isn't any regulation or rules for how they handle your wheelchair. Because even though, realistically, we could easily fit a wheelchair onto a plane if it was made, it's not allowed. They don't allow wheelchairs in the passenger. So they put it in the cargo with the rest of everything else. Not safety regulated, like buckled down. It's just kind of whatever they feel like they can do, and it's a risk of whether or not you get your wheelchair back in one piece. I've read article after article of like nightmares where the wheelchair is completely just in pieces, and the airports are just like, sorry dude, that sucks.
Yeah,
and these wheelchairs are like they're expensive. They're not.
Yeah. I did years ago. A guy who lived near Kevin back in the day, he had me do a bunch of research on electric mobility, like of all kinds. So it was a range of chairs and assorted things. And yeah, back in the day, like the higher end ones were easily 25,000.
Yeah.
And so to think that you could just throw that in with cargo and expect a very delicate piece of machinery to come out the other side perfectly intact is nuts.
Yeah, and then it gets worse because people, like we said, there's always negative people, and people will hear these stories, and they just go to like a simplistic part of their brain of like, well, like the government pays for it, so just like replace it. Like it's just call up to hey Trump, I was wondering if you could just send that real quick. Dude, I got messed up, but if you could just like Amazon Prime that wheelchair over, that'd be real cool. It's not. It's such a process of like paperwork and waiting. And hey, Mom.
Yes.
How long did it take for me to get this new wheelchair before my old one? Like the process. When did the time frame?
Oh my gosh, it takes forever because you have to get fitted.
Mm-hmm.
You have to see a physical therapist. You have to get fitted. Then they have to submit it to the insurance. and it's a whole big process. You were denied your power chair the first time.
Yeah.
Why?
You know what their wording was?
Why?
It was not necessary medical equipment required for your condition.
Even though I can't move.
Yeah.
It's like, at all.
What?
Your mom can push you around forever.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was fun.
Yep. Good
It was
times.
fun.
So yeah,
That
it's not
is
that simple.
crazy. That is crazy. So, are there any sort of initiatives that are trying to create regulation for like the handling of wheelchairs on planes? And how can we help? That's my question. What can we do? This is crazy.
I guess I never really. It was one of those things where, especially now as of lately, now that people are like noticing me and there's that opportunities to do things around the world and country here, it's like they ask me, "Can you fly?" And I'll have to explain to them, well, yeah, but also it's a risk that I have to explain it hands-on to everybody. So now it's becoming more of a problem in my life, and I probably should try and think about what to do. But really, all I know we can do is situation-wise is call up the airport, tell them the situation, and just kind of really get on their ass about like, hey, I'm going to be annoying and you're going to hate me, but please take care of this.
You don't have a whole lot of options. This is something
Yeah.
that has to kind of be done right
Yeah.
on. But look, everybody's out here, planting trees, team trees
Yeah.
is the thing. Why isn't it team like wheels and wings?
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
I love that. I love that. This will be our team trees for sure. What is even the process? Do you have to check your electric wheelchair before you go through security?
I've only ever flown once, well, twice, to and back. And it was for my Make-A-Wish. So I'm assuming that played a factor into how they took care of my wheelchair. But even then, it got a little banged up. I remember there was some scratches and like pieces of like just random plastic kind of chipped off my wheelchair. I mean, it still operated fine, but it was still the fact that even happened.
What was the Make-A-Wish, by the way?
Man, everybody asks me, and I feel such like a jackass because it's just it was the like classic. I want to go to Disney World and Universal Studios. Like, it's not even anything cool. It's just a stereotype.
Yeah, well, that's cool.
It
So
was fun.
that's what you
Yeah.
did? You went to Disney World?
I went
in
to
f-
Disney World, Universal Studios, and SeaWorld. But listen, it was a different time. I was a kid. I didn't know.
It was before, what was the movie that came out? Blackfish.
Listen, it wasn't my fault. I didn't know.
This is going to be peak cancellation. When
Yeah,
you
right.
get canceled for having gone to SeaWorld on Make-A-Wish as a child or younger.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I was pretty young, so
Yeah.
I just went in like, I'm gonna see a fucking whale do a backflip. That's awesome.
It is awesome. Well, look, if I'm serious that if there is any sort of, I don't know, foundation or initiative that is trying to lobby for regulation when it comes to handling, because it's not like this is that rare. Like,
No,
they must run
No.
into this all
All
day,
the time.
every day in every airport around the world.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Increasingly so, too. I'd say quite a bit more than even 10 years ago because, the electrical mobility stuff is more common than it used to be, and the cost on some of the entry-level stuff has come down. So, yeah, same with plane tickets, too. So, like, the whole equation here favors them having to deal with it a little bit more often than they used to. But, yeah, I mean, if how many dogs do airlines kill?
Yeah.
So
It's scary.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, well, if they took even less care with something like a chair, like I can see this coming out
Mhm.
looking like something out of an IKEA box that needs to go back together.
Oh, absolutely. It's scary and also very disheartening because, like I said, I had people being like, "Man, we should get you out here." I'm like, "Man, that'd be great," but it's just very difficult.
It almost seems like we should invent some kind of padded case or box thing
Yeah.
to secure. So even if it does bang around, like it doesn't break, right?
Yeah.
Like maybe there's some sort of like entrepreneur opportunity here to create, the next great invention that is the like electric chair protector for flying, right? Like this is not that crazy of an idea, I don't
No.
think.
And even on a different topic, like transportation with an electric chair on a like vehicle, like a car level, is very difficult. Because do you guys know about the shit show that was Uber starting their handicap service?
No.
Ooh, that one was bad. I think that if I remember correct, they're still going to court for it because they're getting sued.
What happened?
They decided like it was going to be a cool moment for them to introduce handicap-friendly Uber vehicles, which, honestly, between me and you guys, would have been so useful for me. It's like amazing because not a lot of people with electric chairs have a vehicle of their own. And so they have to rely on public transportation, which isn't always easy to work with. But so this was a really cool moment, but there were so many like bumps that were bad. One, the plus of Uber is like that it's cheaper than a taxi, right? That's why they did so well. Handicap Ubers were just as much as a taxi.
Okay.
And so that was automatically like But then a lot of them had to get certain permits that were different that other Uber drivers didn't need. And that was a hassle for them. So a lot of them didn't even want to bother doing that. Getting the vehicle, that's a whole nother thing. Right. And there was a story where somebody was at an airport and ordered the handicap Uber. Uber didn't even show up. So it just didn't come. So they were abandoned there with no means of transportation.
Yikes.
So that was real bad for them.
It seems like, that's a pretty complicated thing for them to try to just slap together.
Very
like
just not ready.
Yeah, and I think there must be quite a few different regulations place by place too, where where a normal trip in one place constitutes like medical transport in another. It must be absolutely nightmarish to go in that direction. Well, I think it's great that they tried. Like that's really cool, but I just don't see it working out exceptionally well for them.
Oh yeah.
Well, Uber foibles aside, I want to get into your transition from making jokes on Twitter to now going on stage and doing open mics. And because one of your, like, what I consider to be your defining joke telling style is very story based, where it seems like you're telling this very serious story that unfolds over the course of about a minute and a half or a minute and 45 seconds. And then within like the last 10 or 15 seconds of this like 2-minute chunk, you just 180 degrees like tilt the thing in some sort of offensive or deranged or unexpected way that ends up just really surprising and making people laugh. So I think that clearly works very well for you on Twitter. How has it been going out and doing that sort of comedy in person? Because that's a much different thing, I imagine.
Yeah. I'm still getting my footing, for lack of a better term, on being on stage. It is great. I do love it. And I do think it's a different element when you're there, but it's not something that I couldn't do. I do feel like it's going to be where I go, and I love it. I love being able to just get on stage and work a crowd and work that element of like, I know they're going to not like this on the surface, but I'm going to make them laugh at it. They're going to be uncomfortable, and that's exactly what I want. I love being able to manipulate that, like you said, just build up this whole, like my first open mic. I ended it with a very serious story of me essentially being turned down by a girl that I liked because I was in a wheelchair.
Right.
And it was so heavy in that bar. Like, it was, you could hear, like, the alcoholism setting in with people. I'm like, you could hear the heartbreak and the guy in the back, but, and then I twist it with, like, yeah, but so she died, so I don't care, it's fine. We got people.
So what was that first time? What was that first time like?
People were very pushy. They're like, go to a comedy club, go to Chicago. And I was like, no, I'm not. I'm gonna start off in a shitty dive bar in my hometown that just happens to have an open mic to get a understanding. And so it wasn't a lot of people. It was a decent amount, just like a good, maybe 20 people in the bar altogether. Yep. So it was okay. It was a little rough at the start, but like halfway through, it was very, okay, we get where this kid's coming from. And it was really, not to pat myself on the shoulder or anything, but everybody else performing that night was musicians. So
you were the only comedian then?
Yeah, they weren't ready for a comedian.
Can you imagine, Kevin, hearing like 7 or 8 good songs, mix of like cover songs and original material, and everybody's chilling out. And then CrippDaddy comes in and tells this horrible joke about heartbreak and death.
That's what it was. Yeah, that's exactly what. So I went in very out of my element, like, oh my God, these people aren't going to be about me. But like, oh well, it's for experience. But at the end, I got the entire bar to laugh. So.
Are there open mics available just for comedy nights that you can go to locally?
Here in my town, yes, there are a few that I know about. I've gotten into links with a few local comedians. I'm a little nervous to do them, not because, on stage, I'm scared, but because I've looked into the material and they're not bad. But I feel like I'm the only one that's doing like very openly offensive stuff.
Okay.
So I don't know how they'll react to that. Hopefully they'll be cool, but I'm also nervous.
A guy, a comedian who Kevin and I both know, his name's Lou Perez. He's a really, really funny guy. And he, I was actually talking to him about you, Donavan, about like a year ago. I said, you got to follow this guy because you're just going to like his style. Lou was telling me about a show that he did, and I forget the title of it, but it's a political kind of thing about like free speech or something, but very edgy too. And he had a situation where the venue that booked it, like people just came on dates and thought it was like a normal kind of comedy club experience and had no idea that they were going into this political kind of show. I guess that went poorly. I guess.
I could imagine.
So thinking about the music into comedy, or even this, I don't know. Would you call the other people wholesome or traditional or what? Or just not on your level of degeneracy.
Yeah, like no. I'm very like I will say something very not okay, jokingly, just because it's a joke. But I think there would be some people that hear that and think, nope.
Okay.
Nah. And that, to better put it in perspective, like, literally just a few days ago, Louis C.K. performed here in my hometown. And I went to go see him, and I'm not trying to start any controversy. I find him hilarious, and I think he killed it. But telling my friends, like, yeah, I'm going to go see Louis, it was either
problem?
like, dude, awesome, oh my God, I'm super jealous, or, really?
Right. We canceled him. You're not allowed to go do that.
Yeah.
You can go, but you can't laugh.
Yeah, exactly. So I feel like Louis very much influenced a lot of my sense of humor as far as traditional stand-up. And A lot of other people do, but I like the ability of taking something that you seemingly just really shouldn't laugh about and making a joke from it. I just think that's a good way of combating that, like, absurdity to life that makes everybody scared.
So I want to ask both of you something about this topic, because Kevin's background is in comedy as well. Way back in the day. He hasn't been funny in 10 or 12 years, but before then...
I wasn't funny then either.
Before then, there were lots of guffaws and chuckles and all of those things. So on the idea of a mismatch on a comedy show or movie or whatever it is, something that's going to make you laugh. A mismatch between expectations, the audience's expectations, and what you get. People seem really bothered by that, but isn't that... It seems to me like it's a good thing, like to be surprised. I mean, is it better to know what you're going to get and appreciate that, or have something come out of the blue? And what's that like as the performer, as the person providing the content?
I think you go into it like they're two different things. So when I did stand-up very, very briefly when I was in college, and there were some venues that I went to where everybody understood my sense of humor and they were on board and everybody loved it and they laughed. And then I remember doing this one show at this extremely small, extremely conservative college. Okay? Like extremely religious college.
Mm-hmm.
And they did not like my jokes. Not that my jokes were like necessarily making fun. I don't even know if I had any like religious jokes, but they were definitely weird and they were definitely offensive to some degree, and they just really didn't like it. But the weird thing that happened there was, rather than being excited about making people laugh in that moment, I was really excited about making them uncomfortable. So it became kind of this different thing where instead of trying to get them to laugh, I kept performing I told probably twice as many jokes as I was planning on originally, and probably that I would have if they laughed. Instead, I just kept going, sort of milking the tension of them, of knowing that they hated every moment of it. That ended up being really enjoyable.
So Donavan,
for me,
if you had to choose, would you rather perform in front of like 50 CrippDaddy stands or 50 grandmothers who think they're going to a church service?
Oh, dude, hands down the church service. Absolutely. Right. I am almost glad, and I feel happy now that I am going for more comedy, because that's, like you said, I think had I become hypothetically popular on YouTube and then wanted to do stand-up, it would be really hard, because you would essentially have a fan base already. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's fine. Hey, man, power to you. That's great. But it's going to be hard to evolve and go in a direction to where you would be essentially becoming a stand-up comic, because you wouldn't be getting as much of the hardship like a comedian would be starting from the bottom, you know. And I'm glad that I have that right now.
There was some comedian, and I wish I could remember who it was. It might have been Eddie Murphy or Steve Martin. It was one of kind of the legends. And they spoke about how once they got to a certain point in their stand-up career, they would just walk on stage and people would start hysterical laughing just because they were such huge fans and they thought they were so funny that they didn't really have to do anything. And that messed with them, and they didn't like that. Whoever it was, I wish I could remember. I think it was either Steve Martin or Eddie Murphy. And it's exactly what you're talking about, where they were like, these people are just laughing at me, not even doing anything. So that is kind of, while in some ways you would think that would be like awesome and amazing, like, oh my gosh, all these people adore me. I think that probably as a creative person who is trying to come up with like the most clever thing possible, it becomes a no-win situation where you're actually not able to work on your craft because there's no there's no conflict between you and the audience. They're just going to laugh no matter what you do. I mean, didn't you go to Gus Johnson?
I did.
Show? How was that? So,
I did.
Yeah.
Genuinely, even as a fan, I went in very, I don't know if I told him this, but I went in almost very nervous because he invited me out. Like him and Sabrina, his girlfriend, they're absolute angels. They're so fucking sweet. They were paying for me to come see them. They were paying for my ticket. They even paid for the drinks and all their stuff there. And I felt almost obligated to I'm going to have to love the show. Even if I hate it, I had to love it. And so I was very nervous. I'm like, God, what if he just fucking sucks? What if it's not good? But genuinely, and I mean this, even as it's spread, it was very good. It was surprisingly good because, like I said, I've always been skeptical of YouTubers branching off into different things, especially comedy, because that's something I'm very passionate about. And he was genuinely hilarious. It was very clever, very smart. He works great on stage. Yeah, it was good.
Well, Gus,
he could do that transition good.
Exactly. He's one of the few. And I've been obsessive over YouTube and YouTube comedy for as long as YouTube has existed. Gus Johnson is one of the few people who I watch and I see this guy is funny no matter what. He's not just funny because he came up, Bo Burnham was this way. Bo Burnham was so funny that it was clear he could go do stand-up specials. He could go direct movies. It didn't matter. He's just that funny. And to me, Gus Johnson is definitely in that boat where you can just pick Gus Johnson up and place him in Hollywood. You can place him in SNL. You could place him on stage. You could place him on Netflix. And he's funny.
Yeah, 100%. Absolutely. I'm very proud of him for that because YouTube comedy is very hit or miss. When it's bad, it is so bad. And what makes it worse is that the thing is, not to seem negative, I'm a very cynical asshole. Seeing even the just objectively bad comedy being praised, because there are going to be people who find it funny, and because of that, it gets popular. It's so irritating. It's so frustrating to me, and it gets on my nerves way more than it should. I will 100% admit that. To me, for example here, Louis, they didn't make that a big deal here in my hometown. It was very, hush-hush. Even the venue wasn't really advertising it on their website. It was, hidden in the corner of, you had to look to see who was coming up. However, Jeff Dunham is coming to the biggest venue here. It's a big stadium here in my hometown. And he's not even performing until next month. But, dude, it is everywhere you go. Billboards, the bus, seating. It's just, and people are losing their mind. It's already sold out. And I'm like, God, he's not funny.
There's this annual, an annual ranking of, top 10 everything in Vegas, right?
Yeah.
And one of the ones that gets the most attention is the top 10 most successful comedy acts here in Vegas.
Yeah.
And that list surprises me more than any top 10 list of my life, because it's the kind of thing that you're talking about here. There are a couple guys who are on this list who are going to be there because they have famous residencies. Carrot Top's on there because he's playing at the Luxor 17 times a day, 9 days a week.
Yeah.
Those tickets are going to add up. And he's funny, whatever. But so there are people on the list, a couple of them, that I legitimately had never heard of. And I Googled them, and it's really kind of mass appeal comedy that's so... It's like if there's a genre of comedy called NPC, it would be that.
Yeah. No,
you know?
exactly.
Yeah. There's a guy, Terry Fatwer, I think his name is. Maybe it's Fader. You don't know him?
No, no idea.
He's like in the top 3 comics in Vegas and scored like $14 million last year.
What?
Wow.
What?
Jeez.
What's
I
that?
do not know who he is.
Yeah, so more respect there. It's like, how do they not know who he is? Well, he's been around here in Vegas for a long time, and he's in Atlantic City sometimes too. But like, he's not like, you throw his name out there, and it's not like, you know, on the tip of everybody's mind with famous comedians in 2019. So yeah, there's a market for NPC comedy, isn't there?
Oh God, yeah. It's just what appeals to the, I don't know, a very mass-produced comedy. It's very easy. It's very just. It doesn't really take a lot of effort to me in my brain, because I beat myself up for days trying to think of like a good joke. Like sometimes I'm just like, and it gets so hard it gets under my skin, and I get so mad at myself, and I pull my hair out, and then I'll look at like just a random just like YouTube comedy thing, and it's very basic, and it's everybody losing their mind from how funny it is. So it's just like, that's not helping me.
It's awesome to follow really funny people on Twitter, like for a long enough time, so that you see the difference between the tone and like the word selection in their normal tweets versus they're clearly like well-crafted joke tweets, you know? And so I'll see somebody who just writes the funniest thing ever, and it gets, 20 likes. And then something else in my feed will be retweets where like some ding dong is like, "Take my wife, please." And it's got like 38,000 retweets.
Yeah. The
thing, like, how do you find that funny?
Worse than that, and maybe this is just because of like cultural differences or like click differences, since Twitter is so global, that there are tweets that'll have 200,000 likes that I literally don't even understand. Like, I'll read them and I'm like, I don't even know what this means. Like, it's in English. Clearly 200,000 people thought it was extremely funny. And like, not only do I not get the joke, like I don't even come close to getting the joke. I'm not even in the ballpark of the joke. And that's what makes me feel just like really out of the loop and really weird, where I don't know if it's just like I'm a boomer and I don't understand how the kids today talk or whatever, but those are the instances where I feel like, so when we talk about generic comedy, like Terry, what's his name? Or
it's Fator. I don't know how it's pronounced though.
I want to look him up.
In the other room,
but I can watch that and I'll get the joke. Like
it is Fader.
Yes.
Like Darth Vader. Oh, he does puppets too.
Of course he does. Of course he does.
Because Donavan was talking about Jeff Dunham. So this is what you need: puppets.
You need puppets.
He's better than Jeff Dunham because he can throw his voice and he can sing like Ed James.
Oh, so she says that he sings really well and he can throw his voice. So he's probably like a legitimate act to watch, like good entertainment. He's been around a long time.
Fair.
Siegfried and Roy's.
Oh, she says he took Siegfried and Roy's spot at wherever that was. Yeah. I guess I've offended. I think I'm in trouble.
I think you are in trouble. And if he took over Siegfried and Roy, does he have a tiger puppet that he pretends to get mauled by?
Did he at least keep the tigers? That would be cool. He's just manipulating the tiger.
But this is what happens though when you I didn't even criticize the guy. I lightheartedly summed up his career as worthless. But I just talked in that way, and I've clearly rankled somebody.
I get that because I ended up having a very similar situation with my girlfriend, because she very much loves Big Mouth, and I fucking despise that show. I
tried to give it a chance. I really tried to give it a shot.
It's not that it doesn't have some good stuff. It does.
Yeah.
There are moments where I'm like, you know, that was very funny. But for every like genuinely funny joke, there's like 8 more that I'm like, God, fucking stop.
This is the Netflix cartoon about puberty or something.
Yeah,
It's Nick Kroll and what's the other guy who is he's always like the crazy one, like the bearded like nutty dude. Yeah.
I don't know. I stopped following Nick Kroll's career when I heard through the grapevine he's like the worst person. I don't generally like to support people who are just such jerks. Like I heard the same thing about Ben Stiller. Ben Stiller, when Ben Stiller plays like a jerk character, it's pretty much that's Ben Stiller. He's like just actually a really not a nice person.
That's how, isn't Seinfeld the same way too?
Oh, I don't know. Seinfeld
I think I've heard a little bit about him, but I can't clarify. I don't want to spread shit, but like I think I've heard that he can be kind of a pompous guy.
Oh, well, he definitely seems like a bit of a pompous guy. The funniest thing was when he wouldn't hug Kesha. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
See, I found that genuinely funny, and not. I mean, it was like kind of a jerk move, but at the same time, that's funny. Seinfeld. Him being like, "No, I don't want to hug. No."
Who is she?
Who are you? I don't know.
So I have a couple questions, Donavan. If you could hang for an evening with any comedian, living or dead. Actually, one living, one dead, if you can do it.
Okay.
And then one that's living dead.
That's so just a comedian. They're all dead on the inside.
But yeah, there's got to be somebody who you wish you could just kind of just hang with for a little bit. Living,
I want to say it'd be a toss-up between Louis and Bo Burnham, because when people ask me my favorite comedians, I do put Bo on that list, and a lot of people will hear that and think, really, Bo? Like, genuinely, he is so talented on every regard, and he is genuinely funny and close to my age, and I am like, I love him, but I'm also like slightly envious of like, damn, dude, you're so fucking good. And I would love to just pick apart his brain and see what his life was like, even on a deeper level. But dead, I would have to go another toss-up between Carlin and Mitch Hedberg.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
That's a good one. You reminded me of Mitch Hedberg earlier when you were talking about how the crowd warmed up to you only after a little while, because I had watched somebody talking about Mitch recently and said that was his experience almost until he got really popular. Every time he went on stage, it was like dead silence.
Yeah.
Until he like cracked that nut like halfway through, like, I don't know, like 12 jokes in or whatever. He finally got the audience to laugh at one of his jokes. And then after that, they were on board. But apparently with his style and his delivery and the types of jokes that he tells, every time he walked on stage, it was like it started off really badly.
I can imagine. No, that makes sense. The first time I ever watched Mitch Hedberg was his comedy special on Comedy Central when I was a freshman. Never heard of him, never knew anything of it. It just randomly played. And I think at the time, Comedy Central was doing this weird thing with like 100 top best stand-up specials at the time. And that was on the lower end. And I was watching it cycle through, and a lot of it was very generic stuff, like, some good. But to me, I fell in love with him. He was so different and funny, and I love dry humor, especially his delivery, like you said. And seeing that so low on their list, I was like, that doesn't make sense to me. He is fucking great.
It probably was much higher years later once they realized, actually, this guy was a genius.
God, I saw this play out, that awkwardness with the lack of familiarity. I just remembered this, that we were, when I was in college, my friend and I were kind of walking around, and we saw a little flyer that there was this event on campus with Stephen Wright, and we were like, "Is it that Stephen Wright?" Because that's kind of a generic name. We're like, "Well, what's he doing there?" And we went to it. There must have been 12 people. It was in like the basement of the communications building, and he was talking about some documentary or something like that. Maybe it was a book about the Boston comedy scene and all the guys who came up in the late 70s and early 80s. But we were the only two people out of that dozen who knew who he was. The rest were like overachieving communication students, a couple foreign students. Nobody knew who Stephen Wright was except us. And so he's, you can imagine his delivery, even in, it's not like it was stand-up comedy, but he's still being Stephen Wright. And we could look around and everybody else was like, who is this really awkward weirdo? And, 10 minutes in, he lands a couple just really excellent lines, and people start to see like, oh, now I get what this guy's about. Yeah. And then, 15 minutes into the presentation, everybody is like a Stephen Wright fan for life. And it was so cool to see that transformation from zero to having a really awesome night.
Mm-hmm. So what are while we wrap up here, we've taken a lot of your time. I just would love to know what's next, to do more live stuff. Are you planning on doing more on YouTube or sticking primarily to Twitter? What are you thinking?
Right now, I do want to try and transition more into doing more live on stage stuff. I'll still keep up, obviously, on Twitter and YouTube. My podcast is still a fun thing to do, as much as a hassle is getting an episode out. It's still fun. I like putting together jokes that I feel will work on Twitter and YouTube, but I think a big focus will be on live stuff, and I have a few things in the works that are going to be really interesting to see how it plays out. I think we've been talking, and he's mentioned it a lot, so I feel like it's open to talk about now. But
do we have a reveal? Are we about to get a reveal?
Kind of, yeah. Have you guys ever heard of the Legion of Skanks?
Yeah. Louis J. Gomez and Dave Smith and Big J. Okerson.
Yep.
Yeah.
Louis and I've been talking for a while. He's a good guy, and he told me, he was like, do you do stand up? I was like, I've been working my realm into it. He was like, all right, here's the deal. When we come through to Chicago at some point, we want to have you on. He's like, we'll pay for you to be on there. Get some stuff together. And I was like, that's no pressure at all, but I would love that.
Yeah,
that's really awesome. They've got a big thing going with the Gas Digital. Gas Digital has really grown quite a lot in the last year or two. I wasn't sure if it was going to survive at the beginning, and then they tried a bunch of different things, ran with the things that worked. I'm pretty impressed by it. So even though a lot of people aren't into them, because I'd say they're edgy, is that fair to say?
Yeah,
they're edgy. And if you do go on stage, be careful of what they make you do in the physical comedy realm. I've seen things with those people.
Oh, me too. I've seen it.
But yeah, I mean, that's a really big, cool opportunity. Like, I'm thrilled that came through on you.
I'm very excited. I think being able to be comfortable in that environment of like, I don't have to worry about what I'm going to say. People are going to love it. It's going to be great.
Yeah. No, you definitely wouldn't have to in that. No.
Are we going to be able to see this? Will this be online? Do you know?
I do know that they probably have more so now. Everybody does record some stuff, but I think a lot of it, because of canceled stuff, is very under the radar. Like, you had to be there kind of thing.
Okay.
They had a bit of a problem with a venue a couple months ago, didn't they?
Yeah, they had a surprise performance by Louis C.K., and the venue owner didn't like that.
Yeah. I remember seeing a firestorm about it. Yeah.
Ooh, it was a big deal. But now, I think no matter what, it's going to be fun, and I will love playing out on that stage.
That's
This is
awesome. That's so
Yeah.
awesome. I'm really happy to hear that. Well, do you want to stick around? We got some questions for you for our patrons.
Yeah,
Want
absolutely.
to stick around for a little while. Thank you so much for joining us. Tell everybody what your podcast is. You didn't mention the name.
That's right. I have a podcast with my mom called Cripp in the Cradle. It's
So good. It's so good.
We just kind of shoot the shit and discuss whatever really is going on.
I wish. Yeah. Sorry.
No.
Sorry to interrupt. I just wish that we'd given a bunch of time to the dynamic between you and your mom, because there is nothing like it on. That's what we should talk about in the after show, because that is one of the most incredible things on all of social media.
I love it. Yeah. And it's just us being us. And I think on the surface, people hear like a podcast between a boy in a wheelchair and his mom. That's going to be some wholesome, nice shit. And it's not.
It's not. It's not.
So be sure to check out Cripp in the Cradle. Follow Donavan on Twitter. You will not regret it. If you want to
We'll put
stick
links
with
to
us,
everything in the description.
yeah,
So,
links,
make
everything
it easy.
down below. We're going to go through our Patreon wormhole. That wormhole exists at patreon.com/thecreateunknown. We're going to be talking to Donavan some more about him and the dynamic with his mom and some questions from our patrons. So go there, join us over there. If you can't make it, that's okay. Thank you for watching The Create Unknown. We will see you next time. Space Cowboys. Thanks for listening to The Create Unknown. There's more episode waiting for you, but to keep listening, sign up at patreon.com/thecreateunknown. You could hear the rest of our conversation as well as unlock the ad-free feed, get exclusive content, join the Idea Baby Gang, and more.